Hello and welcome back to the Finding Her Sparkle podcast. Today I am going to be answering two questions that came through on an Instagram story box, and they are: I am feeling overwhelmed with the mental and emotional workload of 3 children while also working with early perimenopause. And girlfriend, I feel you. And I know there is going to be so many other listeners that feel you with that one too. So I'm excited to dive into that one in just a second. The first one that I'm going to be answering is I'm feeling really overwhelmed because I'm feeling like I am the only stable one right now. Everyone else around me is up and down. And I really feel that as well. And again, this is something that so many other people are going to resonate with. It's so hard being the emotional giver and the emotional caretaker, right? I did answer these very quickly on my Instagram stories, but I want to deep dive these for you guys because I know you're not the only ones that are going to be feeling like this. And I know that we can go deeper and have a look at some actual really easy things that you can change or action steps that you can be putting into place to change the perspective and for you to be able to feel like you are a priority in your own life as well. Because I think for both of these questions, you can really hear for the people that have written them in that the overwhelm is really there, but the overwhelm is coming from, it sounds like, focusing outwards of themselves. And this is so common. We all do it, right? We all focus on everybody and everything outside of ourselves. And to a certain extent, that's life. And that happens whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's with friends and family members. We, as a human species, want to be connected. It's one of our core psychological needs. But also, there is strengths and limitations to everything. And overcompensating for that or overcommitting to other people and undercommitting to yourself is essentially going to lead anybody to be feeling like they're burnt out. They've got nothing left to give, right? So with this first question, being the only stable one, feeling like everybody else is really up and down at the moment, we're going to go through chapters of life like this. Not everybody's life can be easy breezy all of the time. And it sounds like there's a few people in your life that have a few things going on at the moment. Essentially, what I'm hearing from this is that you are feeling like you've become the emotional anchor for everybody else around you. You feel like you are being there for others, which is a beautiful thing. But again, we want to highlight the strengths and the limitations of these things. You are regulating others consistently. You're there to support others. You're that caring, giving person. You're holding space for other people. But it's feeling like nobody's really there at the moment to hold you as well. And again, this is something that we can't necessarily control. We're not always going to have someone that's in our corner being there for us, but when we are consistently giving and giving and giving, unfortunately, you also need to be able to give back to yourself. And I say unfortunately because I know that that can feel really hard. I've been there and I'm there pretty regularly. And I know for me that this is my red flag when I start to feel frustrated and resentful and I feel like I have so much on my shoulders and so much responsibility. This is my first red flag for me that I'm being too over responsible or I'm taking on too much at the moment. I'm taking on too much of others' emotional responsibility, of the to-do list, of all of the things, and I'm over prioritizing all of those things. Again, it's not that we need to over prioritize ourselves over everybody and everything else, but we want to try and find a balance point. We want to try and find a bit of a happy medium. This also creates emotional load fatigue, which is interesting because I'm going to be talking about that for the next question as well. So these kind of tie in together. You're doing all of the life tasks. We've got the to-do list. You're ticking off all of the things. But on top of that, and on top of your normal day-to-day life things, work things, you are also managing everybody else's needs, emotions, moods. You're kind of navigating that and preempting what they might need, what they might want. And being that caring person that I'm assuming that you are, you're really taking these things to heart as well. And it's not only in these instances where you're actually interacting with these people, but if you're anything like me and anything like I'm sure a lot of the other listeners today, you are really taking on board that mental and emotional labor outside of being with them as well and kind of thinking about them, having these open tabs about like, what could I be doing? Should I be doing more? How can I help them? What does it look like for me to help these people? So this actually means that there's a high likelihood that you could be in right now or are moving to emotional and energy and mental burnout or functional freeze. So again, I did speak about this, I think 2 episodes ago now. So you can go and listen to that episode 2, which talks a lot more about functional freeze. I also mentioned a podcast episode from Alexis Fernandez on Do You Fucking Mind, where she does a fantastic deep dive on functional freeze, what that might look and feel like specifically for you in a deep dive way. But essentially feeling like you've got to stay stable, you're putting that external pressure on yourself when you've already got so much external pressure also coming from outside of you as well. So you've got that pressure of like, how can I give? How can I be that person that the people around me that I love and care about so much need when they've got a lot on their plate and they've got a lot going on? But you've got that external pressure already, and then you're putting that internal pressure on yourself too. And then you've got things like your work, your family life, your friends, like all of the things are happening outside of that too. There's a lot on your plate, right? That is a lot. And first of all, we want to validate that. So the very first step to anything is acknowledging, being aware we can't change something if we're not aware of it. And we just want to bring that acknowledgement to, you know what, I'm feeling burnt out and I'm feeling overwhelmed because I am. I am really overwhelmed. I am actually burnt out. I do have a lot on my plate. And we want to validate that and bring that compassion and that empathy to you of like, this is a lot. If this was anybody else, if you were to think about, if this was my best friend that was coming to me and that was saying, oh my gosh, I've got all of this on my plate and I'm really worried about this person. I really care about this person. I'm trying to be there for this person and this is happening. And it's just a lot. I'm feeling torn. I've got so many open tabs open. What would you say to your best friend? Right? Because it's so easy to give this advice and this compassion and this empathy to the people outside of ourselves, but we can be our own biggest critic, right? We're so harsh to ourselves. So I've got some action steps for you that I would love for you to put into place. First of all, of course, that compassion and that empathy and being kind to yourself and just having that understanding that it's normal that I'm feeling this way because I have all of this on my plate at the moment. This isn't ideal. And there is things that I would like to start to shift and change so that I can feel like I am also filling my own cup too. We go back to that same analogy all the time of whose oxygen mask are you putting on first? If you're in an accident in the plane and the oxygen masks come down, what is the first thing that they tell you? Put your own oxygen mask on first. You cannot help anybody. And at the end of the day, I really want you to feel into that and realize that by giving outwards of yourself so freely, which again is a beautiful thing, but what is that costing you as well? Interestingly, that's exactly what I just had written in my notes, which I'd forgotten. So we want to drop the emotional responsibility. And by doing that, it helps you to be able to give back to yourself as well. So a question that you can come back to, maybe you want to write this down. If anybody's listening, maybe pop it in the notes section of your phone or write it down in a notebook and pop it on your fridge, asking yourself, is this mine to carry? Okay, so am I carrying this around with me when I could be finding that middle point and that balance point of being there for somebody, helping them, being the listening ear and doing what I can, but also choosing to switch off from that when I have finished that conversation or when I have finished that experience with that person? Am I being over responsible for somebody else? And what is this costing me? And I know that this can be a really hard question to answer, but at the end of the day, are you able to show up as the best version of yourself if you are consistently giving outwards of you and not giving back to yourself? What is this costing you? How are you feeling? How are you not feeling? Like, how do you want to be feeling? And what happens when you're not feeling that way because you are being so giving at the moment, right? What can shift? What can change? How can you start to put some boundaries into place that you are able to be there, but you are not there at the cost of you, at the detriment of yourself? So actually, and then the next thing that I would like you to actually do is schedule in some literal downtime. And when I say downtime, I mean nothing. We're not responding to emails. We're not responding to texts. We are not responding to social media notifications. We're not doom scrolling. You're not looking at your calendar. It is actual downtime. You might have a flow state activity that you like to do. Maybe you enjoy painting or, I don't know, yoga or golf or I don't know, whatever your thing is that you like, that is your downtime and your flow state that you feel like you can actually switch off. Go and do that thing, because that is going to be downtime for you. But if you don't necessarily have that flow state thing, or you're feeling really busy and overwhelmed with that at the moment, it feels like an extra commitment that feels more overwhelming, schedule in that downtime. It might be 5 minutes, it might be 10 minutes, but you are not on your phone. You are not being distracted by other things. Your brain needs to switch off. You need to complete your stress cycle so that your nervous system can start re-regulating. So if you've got any more questions about that, please feel free to jump into my inbox and ask me any more about how you can do that, what that might look like specifically for you. And of course, anybody else listening, if you're not the question asker, but you are listening and this is resonating with you, please send me a message. Let me know if you've got any other questions about what you could do for you that would suit the area and the chapter of life that you are in right now for you. Alrighty, let's have a look at question number 2. I'm feeling overwhelmed by the mental and emotional workload of 3 children whilst also working and in early perimenopause. Again, like I said, this is a lot. This is a lot. And we're going to start with that because we mentioned it already, but that validation and that understanding of I am feeling this way, I am feeling overwhelmed, I am feeling burnt out because there is so much going on for me in this chapter of my life. The mental and emotional workload of 3 children, on top of that, working, on top of that, huge hormonal changes and shifts. There is so much happening for you right now. So let's break it down. The mental load and the invisible load and the emotional load, overload. Okay, so 3 kids. You have consistent needs, not only yours, but 3 other people as well, right? The planning, the logistics, the emotional regulation, the decision making of everything. Where do people need to be? What are the after school activities if your children are at school? What are the lunch boxes if we're packing lunch boxes? Who needs money for the canteen? What are we doing on the weekend? What birthday parties have we got? Do we have presents and gifts for the birthday parties? Where do I need to be? What do I need to be doing on top of what are my working hours? And what do I need to be doing for work? Am I carrying any of my workload home with me for my mental load? You have that decision fatigue that is regularly running all day. It is not stopping. Okay. So that's your mental overload side. Then we've got that emotional overload and that emotional labor of holding space. So just like we were talking about with that other first question, holding space for your children, for other people in your life, whether that's that you have a partner, whether it's other friends and family members, but people in your household and outside of your household, holding space for others and always being on and feeling like you are always switched on is the second aspect. Then we look at the third aspect, which is huge, and it is your hormonal impact, especially when we're looking at things like perimenopause, menopausal symptoms, all of these things. Now, of course, I am not a dietitian, a naturopath, a doctor, but we do know, and studies show that perimenopause and menopause is huge and is so often overlooked when we think about things like feeling anxious and increased anxiety symptoms, lower stress tolerance because of your hormones, mood swings, brain fog, fatigue, feeling exhausted, not sleeping properly, night sweats. My night sweats, when I tell you that those 2 nights before I'm about to get my period are wild, like wild. I'm talking, I said to my GP the other day, I actually go and get a towel and put it next to my bed if it's those 2 nights before I'm getting my period, because I know the hormones are insane. Okay. I get it. But what all of this means is your nervous system is already more sensitive. If we think about from a scale from 1 to 10, if 10 is like I'm feeling the absolute best I could possibly be, no. Hold on. Wait a second. If we start at number 1 and number 1 is like, all right, I'm chill. Like I'm waking up. It's the first thing in the morning. I'm waking up and absolutely nothing has happened for me today. I'm feeling like this is going to be a good day. This is number 1. Then we've got number 10 is like, I am exhausted. My emotional tolerance is gone. My window of tolerance is closed. I'm emotionally heightened. My nervous system is heightened. I'm dysregulated. That's our number 10. Okay. When you think about even just with the hormonal impact of perimenopause or any, hormonal symptoms that are happening for any other women that are listening, maybe not necessarily in perimenopause, but just that hormonal impact alone, not even taking into consideration the workload and having 3 children at home, your nervous system is already more sensitive. You are already starting your day at like a number 3 or 4, perhaps. You're not at your number 1. You're not at your chill zone. You're waking up. You're exhausted, you've got the mood swings, you're less tolerant of other things happening around you. You may find also that you're feeling perhaps more overstimulated by noise, or sensory sensitivities are higher as well. You've got brain fog, you're not feeling as focused, you're procrastinating, you're feeling overwhelmed and overstimulated, you're feeling more stressed, you're feeling more anxious, you feel flustered and just all over the place. If you think about that and you're starting your days feeling like that already purely from a hormonal perspective, you have less tolerance for the whole rest of that day because you're already starting at that 3 or 4. One thing happens, one of the kids is having an argument or a tantrum or something goes wrong, you're running late for work. Now we're at a 5. Another thing happens, we're at a 5.5, we're at a 6. And this is perhaps only halfway through the day or towards lunchtime, where if this was somebody that's feeling like they're starting that day at a number 1, okay, a few of those things may happen, but perhaps by lunchtime, they're at like a 3 or a 4. So we want to, again, with this compassion and this empathy and this understanding is coming from a space of, I am not losing my shit because this is my fault, right? Like, yes, to a certain extent, we can look at creating some more self-awareness and emotional awareness, but we also want to be kind to ourselves and give ourselves that compassion and that empathy of like, you know what? Yes, I lost my shit just before, but I actually also understand why. And this is what I'm going to do differently next time. Or this is what I need in this moment to help me re-regulate myself. Because a lot of the time, and what I've noticed, especially after my ADHD diagnosis, and I can be quite emotional, actually not quite, I can be very emotionally reactive. And what I have realized is because I have ADHD, I am so much more sensitive to being overstimulated. I also have sensory processing disorder. I can get overstimulated a lot more quickly than somebody that is not neurodivergent. And that means that I feel like I go from 0 to 10 in an instant. And my reactive response is snapping and losing it, but then feeling really bad about that. And what I have had to learn about myself is to be kind, but to also start to notice my warning signs and my red flags before I get to that 10 out of 10. And over time, I have started to be able to get better at doing that. So this is what I invite for you. When we go through any change and any shift in life, whether it is a environmental change, you're moving house, you're changing jobs, whether it's a body change, your hormones are changing, whatever it is, we want to try to get in touch with ourselves as much as we can and just do a bit of a check-in and see, okay, if I think about the last few weeks or the last few months, what are the things that I notice really set me off? And so we're looking at the set me off point or the explosion point, first. And then we want to work backwards from that. Okay, how did I get there? What got me to that point? And we work backwards from there. And what we can do then is when we start to get to that starting point, we realize, oh, it wasn't about the tantrum or the lunchbox that got left at home or running late for work. It was this, and this that happened before that that led up to that. And how was I feeling in those instances, in those moments? What was the feeling that was coming up for me then that I could start to be more aware of before I get to my emotionally reactive and responsive behavior? I get to that snapping point, that explosion point, and not showing up as the best version of myself. Now, it happens to everybody. It's going to happen. We can't stop it from ever happening again, but we can be more aware of it. We can be more aware of our red flags leading up to that. And when we create more awareness, what we can do is start to put things into place that you start to notice those things quicker and you realize, oh, like I'm at like a 5 out of 10. I need some space. Like, I'm going to put my noise canceling headphones on. I'm going to go and sit in my bedroom for a minute. I'm going to go and sit in the car and just take 5, whatever it is for you. So basically, when you've got no recovery time, it means, again, like we were saying in question 1, there's that constant output and giving outwards of yourself, but there's little input or recharge. So this is a continual nervous system overload, like we were saying just before. Now, I do have a reframe for you that I wonder if this could help. So give this one a go, something around the lines of, and you can change this in any way that you like. It is not that I cannot cope. It is that my body is under more pressure than it has ever been before. Okay? It is not that you are not coping with your life and the situations that you are being given and dealt. Your body is under so much pressure, and you are learning to shift and move and be adaptable with these changes that are happening in your body, coupled with the emotional and invisible and mental load that you are also carrying running a household, working, and having children. So what I want you to do, moving forward from this, we are lowering the baseline expectations for yourself. Instead of, I should be able to handle this, or normally I can do this, this, and this, and knowing what your 100% is, I want you to shift this to what could 80% look like for me today? What could 70% look like for me today? What could 50% look like for me today? You know, maybe on a Sunday, and this is just an example, you're used to doing a full house reset. You've done the grocery shopping, you've done the meal planning, you've done the meal prep, you've washed all of the sheets, you've remade all of the beds, you've done a deep clean of all of the bathrooms, and you're going outside and sitting out in the sun and having a coffee. Maybe that's your 100%. But if you are going to hold yourself to that high standard all the time, you are exhausting yourself. And there is still going to be moments where you feel like you can be at your 100%. And I love that for you, and go for it on those days. But know what your 80%, 70%, 60%, whatever the numbers are that feel good for you, know what they are. Now, what I have some of my clients do is they've actually broken them down into columns. So they've got 3 different columns. 100% is this. 75% is this, 50% is this. And they are my 3 different states, and they've got them now up on their fridge that they can check in with themselves, and it's right in front of them. Okay, I know I'm not at 100%. Where am I? Am I 50? Am I 75? What am I letting go of today? What am I being kinder with myself with today? What's my baseline that I can accept where I'm still feeling like I'm productive and getting things done, but I'm not exhausting myself with that? We also want to look at reducing decision fatigue where you can, because you've got so much on your plate. So this might look like, and these are only suggestions, you could have other things that might feel easier for you. Making repeat meals, or making meals that are going to last you for multiple nights. This is one of my absolute non-negotiables for me, especially because I work with my one-on-one clients, on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesday evenings. So I know those evenings I don't have a lot of time to be cooking. So I will do a slow cooker meal on a Monday that I know is going to do us for the Monday and the Tuesday. So then when I'm with my clients on Tuesday, I'm not stressing about having to go out and make dinner after I finish work as well. So can you do any repeat meals? Can you be doing, maybe you do up something that I've also done, which I just remembered, is in my notes section of my phone, I have a weekly meal plan, and I've got about 6 different weeks in there. And what I will do when I can't be bothered to think on a Sunday of the meal planning, I will go back and I will have a look, and I'll pick one of those weeks, and I will simply do my meal shopping and grocery list from that. So it's reducing the decision fatigue around, like, okay, what are we actually going to have for the next week? What ingredients do I need? It's already there. Simplify your routines where you can. So going back to that, like, what's my 100? What's my 75? What's my 50? How can I simplify this? Is there anything that I can be doing to make my life feel easier at the moment and to be kinder to myself? Basically, at the moment, remember, less decisions equals less overwhelm. Okay? So that is my quick breakdown of answering these 2 questions that have come through. I hope that these have been helpful. Of course, like I said, if anybody is listening along, especially with that second question, and you have any other questions regarding that, or you would like to know any more about how this can specifically relate to you, shoot me through a DM. Let me know. If you've got any other questions that you would like answered on the podcast, let me know. I'm going to start popping up a question box on my Instagram probably every fortnight so that I can get these questions coming in from you guys and I can answer them. I can go a bit deeper with them than what I can just in DMs or on a story on 1 or 2 slides. And I will see you in our next podcast episode. Bye.